Source is a podcast made by women for women. We talk with a wide variety of experts, ranging from a sex therapist to the CDC and everywhere in between, to bring you the stories you're only going to hear here. Our goal is to entertain and educate, because it's more clear now than ever just how much we as women are doing, as parents, as spouses, employees, just as everything. Don't miss out on being in the know. Subscribe to Soul Source wherever you listen to podcasts today. Leave us a review too, because this part's really important. When you leave those reviews, that's how we're able to continue bringing you the content you love each and every week. So buckle up, Soul Source Society, because we're about to get started.
Listen to your intuition, listen to your body, listen to your mind. When it's time to rest, rest beautifully.
Hello there, I am your host of Soul Source, Raquel Amel, and today we're talking about the pressure to be perfect. Now, I don't know why we as women tend to put all this unnecessary pressure on ourselves, but so many times we portray this perfect life on social media and to our friends, and we aspire to have this quote-unquote perfect life, putting unnecessary pressures on ourselves, making ourselves miserable, frankly. Well, my guest today is all about bursting that perfect bubble and teaching women that it is okay to mess up. In fact, it's sometimes good. Carenda Deonne is an entrepreneur. She's an author of a book called Perfect Patty Messed Up, and your number one change agent. Carenda, I am so excited to talk with you today. Welcome to Soul Source.
Oh, wow. Thank you. I'm so glad to be here. Absolutely. I'm excited.
I think this is such an important topic, because perfection is something I feel like women especially, we really, really struggle with. So before I get into what we're talking about, let's hear a little bit about you. How did you get started on this career path of showing women that they don't have to be perfect?
Yeah, the career path started really when I was a little girl. It didn't, that's when it started, my being able to be secure in things such as writing. So for me, writing was a safe place, and writing was a place where I could be transparent and open without feeling judgment. And because I was bullied growing up in school, writing became that safe haven for me. As I got older, I decided to give those words a voice, right? I decided to be the message as well. So I began to do a newsletter. I began to write books, poetry books, etc. And I began to open up with women and being transparent about my own journey. And I'll tell you, it was going through my own pain. And that really allowed me to get to where I am now. Because at the end of the day, perfection only leads to unhealthy cycles. And, when you experience things growing up, whether it's, rejection or being compared to others, you just start on this cycle of it's just unhealthy cycles that continue and continue. And for me, I wanted women to know that's got to stop. In order for us to grow and to develop and to see change, that has to stop. But it really started when I was a little girl. In this place of, gosh, well, will I ever be accepted? How can I be accepted? And going through each phase of my life and finally giving that hurt and that pain a voice, if that makes sense.
Talk about that a little bit more. What do you mean by you kind of use that pain to get to where you are now?
Yeah, for me, even in school and going through college, in my adult career, I would feel like, okay, well, maybe if I was perfect, people would like me more, right? And that's not true. And so going through things like going through 2 failed marriages and going through failed business relationships, it really helped me to understand that, what, you can't keep pointing the finger outward. At some point, we have to go from immaturity to maturity, right? And really deal with the issues within. And so instead of finding fault in others, I said, how can I be a better Carenda? How can I be a better Carenda for Carenda first, right? Because I struggle with wanting to be a better Carenda for other people, but how can I be a better Carenda for me first, right? And then that is reflected, for other people to enjoy and to partake in and to share with. But when I was ready to make better choices, I had to make some changes. I just had to make some changes if I wanted to make better choices. And I could only make those changes by challenging myself and being accountable to Carenda.
I feel like what you said is so pivotal because it's kind of an old school way of thinking, but I feel like women are taught a lot to serve others. I mean, a lot of even career paths for women are very in the service industry, right? Taking care of other people. And so when you talk about trying to be better for others, I'm just curious, how hard was it for you to look at, like, be better for yourself, put you first, because women always put others first.
Yeah, we do. We always put others first. And some of that is that nurture, that natural nurture ability that we have. But what you have to understand is that being authentic means understanding you, right? Embracing you, and not just a percentage of you, not just the part of you of the accomplishments and the awards and the success, but the you of that encompasses your weaknesses, that encompasses the things that you didn't do right and the mistakes that you did have, and understanding that it's not selfish to care for you first. It's not selfish at all. It's one of the best things you can do, in your life.
Yeah, well, yeah. And how can you care for anybody else if you're not taking care of you first? I mean, you hear that, but it's true.
It's so, so true. You have to. It's pivotal. I tell women sometimes, to not take care of yourself is truly, it's neglect, right? That's like an actress who forgets her lines. It's like you forget your purpose. Your purpose is to take care of your temple, to take care of your mind, your body, and your soul. So it's something that should not be negotiable at all.
How hard was it to change your perception and point that finger inward instead of at other people? Because that's the easy thing, right? Is to look at others, go, it's that person's fault or it's that thing's fault.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was difficult because we live in a society that continues, that way of thinking, right? And so it was difficult because it is easy to dismiss. It's easy to be dismissive. It's easy to just say, hey, it's someone else's fault. They even in corporate America, they call it, throwing somebody under the bus, right?
Oh yeah, yep.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Uh-huh.
But when you do, it really makes all the difference. When I came into the realization that I wanted to break unhealthy cycles, and that they're unhealthy because you keep going through them over and over again. And when you're ready to make a difference, you make a choice, right? And really, a lot of it has to do with choice. We have choices every day of our lives, but you make a choice to say, I've got to change. I've got to do something different this time. And when I started to make the choice to embrace change, I started seeing things, flourish that I thought would never flourish. I started to see life, right, in relationships I didn't think would ever happen again. And so when I decided to embrace that change, I said, okay, I'm going to embrace all of me, right? The strengths and the weaknesses, and I'm going to embrace the journey because it's a beautiful journey when it's all said and done. It's a beautiful, beautiful journey. So when I looked at change being bigger than a choice, but really a process, it just made the difference. And I said, yes. I said yes.
So what do you think it is, what is it about women? This brings us back to the first question, but why? Why do we have this pressure to be perfect? What is our problem?
Yeah, we do. I think it's a multitude of things. I think some of it could be our upbringing, right? Some of it could be experiences that we've been through. Some of it could be being compared to others, if it's siblings or other family members. But it leaves a void. whatever the experiences or the challenge was, or whatever it could have been, it leaves this emptiness, it leaves this void, and we feel like we've just got to do more. And when we do more, it's got to be perfect every time. You know, there's a saying that people have said a lot, or you may have heard this before, but like, you can give, but it's still, enough is not enough. It's just, you still
It's
feel like
never enough.
it's
Yeah.
never enough. It's never enough. And it's this inner void that we have and we struggle with. And, I don't really necessarily know if it's so important for the void to be filled as opposed to be healed. Do you understand what I'm saying? And so when we take the approach of not so much what can I do to fill it, but what is it going to take to heal it, then it's a difference. It's a difference.
And that leads me right into my next question. So perfect setup, Carenda. Because I'm curious about you talk about pain. Pain usually can manifest in not so pleasant ways. Women are known for being catty, unfortunately. And so when you look at things like social media, media in general, like a magazine, and all of these pressures to be a certain way, specifically for women, and then you see, this catty behavior from women, do you think all of that is kind of interlinked?
I do. And you have to be so cognitive of even just the things that you watch and the things that you listen to, because it just makes a difference. I'm going to unpack that. I'm a huge wrestling fan, right? I've been watching wrestling all my life. Okay.
I would not have guessed that.
I know, right? But I love wrestling. And so every Monday, every Tuesday and Friday evening, I always try to make sure my schedule is clear because I want to watch wrestling. Anyway, I was watching just the other day.
Uh-huh.
There was several pizza commercials, and the commercials, one was like Pizza Hut, I think the other might have been Papa John's, but one came on talking about how we can deliver faster, right? As soon as you put your order in, 2 minutes or less, we're going to be at your door. We're going to deliver this pizza to you. And then the other commercial was, we give you more stuffed crust and more meat and more cheese and just more, right? And I said to myself, wow, subconsciously, we may not even realize it initially, but that stigma to feel like I got to have more, that stigma of feeling like it's got to be fast, it's got to be done quickly. And what happens is we begin to make impulsive decisions. We begin to make decisions without clarity. We begin to align ourselves in situations that bring chaos and confusion. And so, yes, social media, society, the messages that they portray to get us to buy, right? Because we think that's what we need. It absolutely plays a part. And so what happens is that, perfect Patty, so to speak, with my book, or living this life of perfectionism, you feel like more is what I need, and it's got to happen now. The process and the appreciation of patience is like out the door, right? It's like, if it's taking too slow, I've got to go to the next thing. If it's taking too long, I've got to do the next thing. And so we begin to compare ourselves to other women. We begin to, have this sense of jealousy with other, women. And that's not what we should do, right? We should always be able or have the capacity to celebrate others and be happy and excited. But we do live in a society that says, listen, if you want it, you've got to always have more of it, and you've got to get it done fast.
Ain't that the truth? That is so, so true. I think I'm remiss if I don't ask, because I feel like this is the elephant in the room with everything these days, but the pandemic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Women especially have been hit really hard as a result, and now we're headed into another school year, and it's looking like it's going to be just as stressful, if not more so, than the last one. So I guess, how has that impacted women and that view on perfection too?
Yeah, it definitely has impacted. And I think we have two extremes. We have one extreme of women who are able to adapt pretty fairly well. But then we have the other extreme that feels like, oh my gosh, I'm falling apart, but I can never let anyone see or know it, right? And so we have women who are stressed to capacity. We have women who are dealing with anxiety. I mean, it's real, and it's almost like, well, if I am truthful about where I am and what I'm going through, it's almost looked upon as, oh, you're weak, or oh, you can't get through that, or so and so was able to get through that. And so it truly has impacted. I think it really has impacted our mental state as well. The belief that we have in ourselves. And the pressures, right? The pressures that we're putting on ourselves. And some of that could be self-inflicted pressure because we feel like I've got to hold it all together. Some of it, I would say we've got to be able to be open to share so we can really see what resources are out there that can help us, what outlets are out there that can be of assistance to us, and not feel ashamed because you ask for help. It's okay.
Right.
It really is okay. But the pandemic has impacted. I believe that there's been two extremes. It's been the extreme where you have one side that has been able to adapt, has been able to bounce back, or they've used this time to really reinvent themselves. And then you have the other side that is really crying out for help, right? And afraid because they feel like they're going to look down upon by asking for help.
It's so sad because, I mean, the only way you can get the help is by talking about it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. And we have to create a safe place. I talked about in the beginning when we were, discussing how this started, and I talked about that safe place. We've got to have a safe place where we can express ourselves, right? And it's so great, with your podcast and your program and what you're doing. I believe it's creating that safe place for women to just take a deep breath.
That's what we hope for. Thank you. That's definitely our goal. So,
Absolutely.
you know, another thing that I think a lot of women struggle with too, and I know I've talked about this even with our boss here at Red Shoes, who puts on this podcast, Soul Source, is about committing to so many different things, right? We feel as if we need to be a part of this group, this organization, have the, influence here, all these things. And it's a lot of stuff to try to keep afloat, and can add to feeling overwhelmed. So any advice for women when it comes to that juggling act?
The juggling act is so real. Listen, I don't have children, but the juggling act is still real. If you have children, if you don't have children, if you're single, if you're married, it's real. Anyway, any angle you take it.
Oh yeah.
One thing I think that we have to do is forgive ourselves often, right? And never let a day go by without laughter. I am a firm believer that laughter is good medicine for the soul. And so, regardless of the hat that you wear, right? Be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself. I took time recently because I was kind of in this, feeling of, oh my goodness, maybe I should do this or maybe I should do that. And just kind of going back and forth and just a little indecisive and wavering there. And I just spent some time reflecting and thinking and being grateful for all of the things that I have been able to accomplish, even during this pandemic. Being able to have a productive day with all of the things that's going on around your environment, right, and your world, it's a blessing. It's a
Yes.
blessing when you can be productive and when you can, even in those little things, say, you know what, I did that well. I didn't just do it, but I did it well. And I was 100% present. And so, I want women to focus on just be 100% present in what you're doing at that time. Um, Other things will come and flow and shift and change as need be. But whatever you're asked to do, or you have volunteered to do, or just obligated to do, or expected to do it with 100% being present, yourself there, totally in, right? And listen to your intuition, listen to your body, listen to your mind. When it's time to rest beautifully. Rest beautifully.
I love that. And I feel like, especially now, I mean, with phones and you just constantly, you're connected all the time, that resting has become, like a lost art almost.
It's a lost art. And listen, I'm going to add this really quick. It's kind of a side note when you talk about phones. So, I have this thing with my significant other, and when it's time for us to come together, we eat dinner, whatever the case is, no phone, no phone. I mean, because I just feel like we've got to learn how to disconnect in order to reconnect, right? I mean, you've got to learn how to disconnect sometimes so that you can reconnect when you need to. But when you're so connected and you just keep going and going and going, yeah, you're going to give out. But rest is necessary. Never feel guilty because you said no to something because you needed to rest. And never feel that rest means you're not being productive. Your body is recharging, refueling. You are recalibrating. Your mind is resting so it can be ready to receive and to give out more. And your energy is, being replenished so you can give out more and be 100% present. Yeah.
And how does taking that rest and making sure you take that time for yourself, how does that help you with everything else in life? Because like you said, you're not doing nothing when you're resting.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. The thing is, we have to understand priority and necessities, right? And sometimes they are interlinked, but sometimes we have to understand that there is a difference. And I tell women all the time, at some point you've got to put gas in your car or it won't run, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know that a plant needs water to survive and sunlight to survive. Those things are necessary, right? So you have to understand what's necessary for you, not just to function, but to thrive, right? We get into this survival mode where it's all about just surviving, right? But what are your needs in thriving? Have you really thought about that? What will it take you to do that's necessary in order to thrive? So it's so important right now because you can just become worn out, fatigued, tired, which leads to irritability, mm-hmm. which leads to much attitude.
Yep.
Yeah.
I feel like there's been a lot of that. You get on these Zoom calls and you can just tell people are just done.
Done. They are so done, right? But we have to be mindful because I tell women, you don't have to connect to everything, right? You want to make sure that the things that you connect yourself with, who you align your purpose with, what you connect your name to, you have clarity and it's in alignment with your purpose, right? That means if it's in alignment, we're going in the same direction. So when you begin to, commit yourself over here, commit yourself over there, you're just all over the place and you become out of line. And now you're frustrated really with yourself, not with others, because you have made choices that maybe you shouldn't have made, right? And I tell women, especially now in the pandemic, there's so many options. There's, everybody has a master class and everybody has, a talk or whatever. And yeah. You have to join every single one. Be clear on what is in alignment with your purpose. And do that, do that with boundaries. Absolutely.
And being clear and setting those boundaries could result in change for somebody, right? So how is change and imperfection interlinked?
You know what? That is an amazing question. It's such That's an amazing question. I will tell you this. I truly believe with all of my heart that they're interlinked by choice. I really do feel it comes down to choice. However, one choice leads you in the path of discovery and development, and then the other choice leads you to a dead end. Perfection, living a life of perfectionism or feeling like you have to be perfect will only lead to a dead end. It will only lead to frustration. It will only lead to things that will cause you to become more stagnant than growth, okay? But it's interlinked by choice, and we have to make a choice. And that choice will reap either, development or reap the opposite.
I think that's important. I think if people really need to like that, because that was insightful to me, these two roads and a choice, like one's a dead end. It's a guaranteed dead end, right? One's a guaranteed dead end, one's a guaranteed road for growth. Wow.
Yeah.
I've never heard that put that way before, but I really like that.
I'm glad. Yeah, I truly believe that.
Yeah. So, okay. We talk about laughter being medicine. We talk about resting and taking time for yourself, and that just kind of, embracing the imperfections in life. Why are those imperfections so beautiful?
I believe the imperfections are beautiful because it frees you to be authentic and unapologetic at the same time. It really, really does. It's a part of your reflection, but the total you, right? At the end of the day, we will never have the same fingerprint. It just won't happen. We will never, right? Your fingerprint is specifically yours, and so is mine. But within that fingerprint encompasses challenges and successes. It encompasses highs and lows. It encompasses joy and pain. It encompasses laughter and grief, right? But it frees you that in the season of your life, whatever that season is, it frees you to be authentic and unapologetic, right? That you never have to be sorry for who you are and who you've been created to be. Now, I'm saying that with the understanding of maturity, because I'm not telling people to treat people any kind of way or talk to people any kind of way or live a life in which you don't care because it's all about you. If you got that, then you missed it. I'm saying to you, being totally receptive, expressive in the boundaries of your creation, because you are beautiful from the inside out, right? And within your fingerprint, so many things are there. But this gift that we call life, it's important that we enjoy the journey. Yeah.
It's been so much fun. I feel like we could talk forever, Carenda, and we could just keep going because you just have such great insight.
Thank you.
So my last question for you is, how can people get a hold of you? I mean, you do so many things. There's so many ways that you can help people. So what are some of those, and how do people reach you?
Sure. So people can reach me directly right on my website at carendadeonne.com. So you can reach me there. Also, I'm on social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, all those great things, right?
She's everywhere.
I'm everywhere. At Carenda Deonne LLC, so you can reach me there. My purpose in life, Raquel, is to challenge women to embrace change, right, by taking aim. So I am all about being that change agent, right, challenging your mindset. So I do several things, and people can look on the site. I've started a women's group called Prospering Healthy Souls. It's been amazing. Of course, I do speaking engagements. I love speaking at women's conferences, retreats, corporate workshops. That's just the heart of who I am. So absolutely. And you also can go to my site and get more information on my latest book, Perfect Patty Messed Up Devotional.
And we are going to have those links in the show notes of this show on YouTube and everywhere that you listen to podcasts. Carenda, thank you again for being here. It was a great conversation. It's been so much fun to talk with you.
Thank you. It's been amazing. Yes, thank you.
Thank you for listening. And if you want to hear more Soul Source, just subscribe to our show. We're available wherever you listen to podcasts. And you can watch us too. We're on YouTube. Just look for Soul Source. Soul Source is brought to you by Red Shoes Inc., a leading agency specializing in crisis and strategic communications, media relations, social media, and so much more. To learn more about Soul Source and Red Shoes, visit us at redshoesinc.com.